Well, it's amazing that I can come out here and do these videos and say, well, the webbot said such and such a while back, and here it is. Oh, here it is again. Oh, here it is some more. So one of the things a webbot has been talking about, it started in 2015. It grew and grew and grew, kept coming data. 2016, okay, here it is again. More. Real estate. Real estate markets are going to be in trouble. It wasn't just for the U.S., but it did focus a lot on the U.S. But like the problems in 2008, the financial crisis, it wasn't just a U.S. problem. Remember, across the pond. Even in China, too. China experienced problems. The whole world experienced problems. The EU was just as bad as the U.S. For all the same reasons. So you would say, well, if everyone's creating housing bubbles, they're going to pop as well. If everyone's, printing money out of control, they're going to experience the same issues that causes. So is it any surprise, Zero Hedge here, as its housing bubble pops, Chinese real estate firms halt monthly pricing data. Now let that sink in for a second. The firms that are responsible to tell the rest of us, or at least in this case the Chinese, the citizens, here's our data suggesting, housing's looking good, or a lot of house sales, et cetera. Or the data is so bad, it just turned south so bad, we dare not even give it out. We will not release it. And I think that's the option they just took. Again, when the data is good, economy's booming, politicians love it, the establishment loves it, everyone loves it. Hey, we get to say this is because of us. If the Democrats are in charge, hey, you vote Democrat, vote Democrat. Everything was good. All I know is gas prices were under $2 when Clinton was in power, so I'm going to vote for Hillary. Are you out of your mind? You're voting for someone because gas prices were low when they were in office? What the hell's wrong with people? So anyways, Chinese real estate firms halt monthly pricing data. And Zero Hedge says that didn't take long. Earlier this week, we reported that after 19 straight months of continued acceleration in home prices, China's latest housing bubble may have finally burst again after December prices in the 70 cities, tracked by the NBS, rose by 12.7%, below the 12.9% annual growth rate in the previous month, the first annual decline in nearly 2 years. Now, let's think about something. It was just 12.7%, which is below the 12.9%. So in other words, 0.2% lower. That's not enough to not print data. Oh, that's too, housing terrible. That's nothing. It's almost not even noticeable, which leads us to believe that's because the new numbers are going to come out and say, ouch, big ouch. And that's what they don't want. Average housing price year over year. They've got this little chart, whatever, and let's take a little quick look at that if you want to see that. Average housing price year over year change. Here we go, tier 1. It's up here, but all of them, you can look at this, tier 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all kind of hitting this peak, and then little problem, slight little problem. And if you look at especially tier 1, it's at 30%, touching almost 25%. So that's a 5% drop in a pretty quick, or not quick, but pretty small amount of time, short amount of time. Again, this is January 2016, 2017. It's just looks like a few months worth of time. Continuing on, fast forward to Friday, which was last Friday, when at least 2 major Chinese private providers of home price data stopped. Stopped publishing the figures, just as the housing market is starting to cool off at a dramatic pace across all tier cities. According to Reuters, the China Index Academy, a unit of U.S.-listed FANG Holdings, has stopped distributing monthly housing price index data for 100 cities. Not 1 or 2. Think about that. Let's think about that. You're responsible for 100 cities that it usually issues start of the month. If you only had let's say 5, and I mean bad data on 5, like, we really don't want to show that. However, it's just 5 cities. We're producing a list of 100 cities, so 95 of the other cities are actually okay. Even if there's a little decline, we can publish it. What this suggests to me is it ain't just a few little cities. In the 100 that they list, there's probably major problems with the housing market. So as a webbot has correctly predicted to start looking out for, and it said watch the high-end real estate first, then watch normal real estate, they are going down, down, down. You know, pricing and all. I'll say it for the millionth time. When rates rise, housing prices cannot rise. They have to come down. It's the equivalent of a teeter-totter that is equal across the board. Okay? Just like this. And this is housing price on my right side and interest rates on the left. Whatever they are at this current time, the board is nice and straight. It's level. It's even. There's weight on both sides. It's perfect. As soon as you screw with one of them, let's say you take the interest rates down to 3% to give homeowners a good deal. What happens to the price? Prices go up. Because you can afford the same monthly payment, as I've said a million times, no matter what happens with the interest rate going up or down or the prices of the house going up and down, you can only afford a certain number every month. If your budget says, honey, we can only afford $1,400, maybe $1,500 a month for a house payment, mortgage payment, and that includes escrow and everything else with it, right? Everything basically escrowed. That's it. So if the house, the interest rates for mortgages come down, oh, honey, we could afford a nicer house. Yep. And so can everyone else around you. So if you thought about wanting to move up in the neighborhood, move up in society, moving on up to the east side, then what? So can everybody else around you who could afford the same thing. So if you thought you were escaping, I don't really like this neighborhood. Well, guess what? They can now move just to the same place you can because they can afford the same thing you can. That's a little side thing I want to discuss for just 1 second. But the main issue is that the house price went up. So the homeowner gained. Hey, great, good for me. I'm getting out with, at the top, so to speak. And then something else happens. The rates start going back up. Oh, well, he's already got out. He's already sold the house. He's happy. But the new schmuck who got that house, who we're going to live here for a few years and sell it, might find himself in a problem as interest rates rise. The value of his home is going down quicker and quicker and quicker. That is what is happening. So, once again, you can still only afford $1,400, $1,500 a month. That means the majority of that is paying your interest payment on the house. House is the same house, but you're paying more for that house because of the interest. The banks win again, which is why it'd be fantastic if we all could just save a little bit of money sometimes and actually buy a house cash. It's like impossible. And before I finish this, I want to see, because I've told myself the other day to look for this, and then I forgot. And now I just remembered. When did the 30-year mortgage start? I don't know the answer to this. And if I ever looked this up in the past, forgive me, because I just don't remember that I did. But it's a curious thing. How did the 30-year mortgage, or how it came to be? Because this is relevant. Most mortgagers in the U.S. used to be short-term. Quick. Look surprised. Matter of fact, I'm going to start at the very beginning of this. The text of the story. An update now on a story we brought you a couple weeks ago. This is from marketplace.org. About how Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are trying to get healthy again by forcing banks to buy back billions of dollars in bad loans that Freddie and Fannie were forced to take. Fannie and Freddie took over those loans to get more cash flowing into the national mortgage market. But the head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency told a House subcommittee today, I don't know when this was, this is 2010, told a subcommittee today that the banks seem to have seen the light. They want nothing to do with those loans, so they are not buying them back. The government's trying pretty much anything it can to fix the housing market and figure out what its role in that market ought to be. American home ownership starts with one basic financial premise: the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Marketplace's Elisa Roth explains how that happened. Most mortgages in the U.S. used to be short-term. Now, how is that possible? Because housing wasn't massively inflated by the crooked banks and their crooked government accomplices. Okay, that's my part. Most mortgages in the U.S. used to be short-term, but when the housing market fell apart in the Great Depression, way back when, the government stepped in and 30 years became standard. 30 years would allow the borrower to get through their earning years into retirement and at that point have a fully paid off mortgage. Susan Wachter is a real estate professor at Wharton. She says you were supposed to work for 30 years. Then, in the years when earning was no longer possible, the homeowner would be free and clear. That idea is a little outdated. Nowadays, people, or most people, either move or refinance or both before the mortgage is paid off. In most developed countries, 15-year mortgages are standard. So, why Ingrid Gould-Ellen co-directs the Furman Center for Real Estate in NYU. She says 30-year mortgages are safe and predictable, but you pay a lot more interest on them because they last so long. And banks can't afford to have their money tied up for that long. But because 30 years is such a long time for a loan, investors won't buy the mortgages unless somebody guarantees them, which is what the American government has been doing. So that should also suggest something else to you. If mortgages used to be short-term, that might be 5 to 10 years, right? They had to make them 30 years so that you could stay in your house back in the Great Depression because so many people were affected. And they're not going to just give you their house. They're going to bail out the banks like they did. But they bailed out the banks after the Depression only after J.P. Morgan himself scooped up the banks at fire sale deals and then told his buddies at the Fed, go ahead and start printing some more money now. Let us borrow it. And they did. So what I'm trying to tell you right now is these ridiculous prices we pay for houses over the last you could almost call it a century now. They're still out, massive bubble territory. So that would also suggest the year 2000, 1999, all that, way too much for a house. 30 years is not even kind of normal. You should be able to pay off a house, in all honesty, to be fair here, 10 years. Okay? So, anyways, back to the Zero Hedge article. They have data for 100 years, 100 cities, not 100 years, 100 cities that it usually issued at the start of the month. The Academy said it had suspended distribution indefinitely without giving a reason for the suspension. We're no longer going to produce this number. Well, I did do some videos on this, as you know, if you've been following me, and I showed you Martin Armstrong's, his economic model thing, that showed real estate at the I think it was the end of 2015, starting sometime in 2016-ish, where it said, okay, here's the peak. Here is the absolute peak in real estate. And from here, call it 2016, to the year 2032 approximately. Let that number sink in, that year, 2032. Down, 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 down. That's what his models show. He has data going back so far. I don't know if there's any more complete database on the face of the earth according to him. So he's saying, not just him, his model is saying real estate is just going to have this continuous downtrend. Now, for somebody like me, maybe some of you guys, I can't afford to wait till the year 2030, much less 2032, even 2025, to say, oh, here's the sweetheart deal of housing. Okay, now I'm good to go. I'm going to go buy a house cash. It's 2017. We need to start finding something in the near future, as far as I'm concerned, because I don't want a 30-year mortgage either. I may try to do a 10 or a 15-year. You will get lower rates, by the way, but of course you're still going to pay a bit more because you're paying it off in half the amount of time in a 15-year. That's kind of my goal. I think I want to do a 15-year loan, that sort of thing. But again, that's assuming my job stays the same. I continue getting a little extra income from YouTube. All this stuff is contingent on that, which is why it's good to have a 30-year loan, because you can say, oh, well, if anything came up, at least I know I could afford that, even with just my day job or whatever, even if I find another job, and just pay more on it, or build up a stockpile of cash and then dump it on there one day and just pay the thing off. You could do that too. But if rates are going to be going up, and they apparently are, I don't think we're waiting for the year 2032 to see the actual bottom. I think we're going to have a hellish nightmare to deal with, all things financial, including housing, in the near future, in which we could capitalize on then. And that's what I plan on doing, one way or the other. Now, having said that, if I happen to find some house somewhere, because I had the foreclosure thing that I fought and dealt with and settled with, and okay, you haven't, it's been 2 years, J-Snip, you can go get a house. You can go get someone to finance you now. Go get a mortgage. And I see that right house in the years 2018 or 2019 or something, I'm going to probably go get that house. Because as long as it makes sense. But what I'm hoping for is by 2018, 2019, oh my gosh, there are fire sales out here. Because we got a credit problem, all hell's breaking loose. Like the Cliff High Webbot report said, you're going to see banks offering nice discounts to anyone who's willing to pay cash money for the house. And I'd like to be that guy if possible, but again, it requires saving and all kinds of stuff. And I am pleased to say, as I always do, you guys do a wonderful job in that side cash department by watching my videos with these advertisements on there. It is turned out to be an absolutely wonderful thing. And it's funny because it's just math. The more subscribers someone gets, obviously the more they're going to make. Now, it's literally like pennies per view on these advertisements that play on YouTube. But, do the math. There's thousands of people watching each of my videos. And, imagine if there was 50,000 on one of my videos or 100,000. Could you imagine that? 150,000 views a day, JSnip4? Woo. I'd go buy a large property, acres on that sucker. If it didn't already have a house, build the house. If not, take the house, build a bunch of smaller, like log cabin type of things. Yes, in Florida, wherever I'm living. And then tell my people, listen, peeps, you guys want to come on vacation? Any of you guys want to come on vacation? Florida? I got a place for you to stay. Won't really cost you anything. So my long-term peeps, seeing you guys on there, I recognize your names. You got first dibs. Come on down. I got a few places. You want to come down for the summer, spring, whatever, winter? Come on down. Won't cost you anything. Just hang out with JSnip. We'll do some videos together and shoot the breeze. That's the kind of thing that I would do if I had a bunch of money. But I don't. But maybe one day my channel keeps chugging along. That could be a reality. And invite people down. Hang out. Let's have a chat. Let's become, it's like a group of like-minded people. This is essentially, we are a transition from the old ways to the new ways. And I remember I was focused a lot on the 2012 stuff, researching, getting documentaries, seeing people over going in the Mayan lands, where the Mayan people are, what's left of them, because they still do exist, and listening to their version of 2012 or the end of this cycle. And I'm hearing them talk to the elders and stuff, and they're translating it. And the elders would never say anything about this big doom and gloom, earthquakes cover the earth. And they just kept talking about, which essentially is very short, the old ways will no longer work. And this cycle ending is the beginning of a new way. The lies, the stuff, the bad stuff we deal with will be washed away for the new ways to come forth. And as I saw Trump walk into that White House and seeing what he's already done before he even got in there, and what he's already doing, executive order, get rid of that, take that out, boom, 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 boom. I mean, rapid fire. I have to say the Mayans got it right. The 2012 stuff got it right. Not in the doom and gloom side of massive, world-stopping earthquakes, floods, epic proportions. Nope. That never came from them. And I had these documentaries and I would watch it, and it kind of bothered me at first because I'm like, what the hell? Why aren't they talking about this? They even have these stones they uncovered, and, they took a carbon rub of it and deciphered what it meant, and there was a flood period. Okay, it's like, so that, some of that stuff's true, but didn't mean it was going to happen in December 2012. 21st 2012. But I'm so fascinated by a lot of that stuff. I like finding documentaries and things like that. So, anyways, the bottom line is, which let me just say this. I'll end this video with this final comment by this person over there. Okay. This guy, this lady, TSUI, Sue, we'll call her Sue, said she did not know the reason for the halt. She said the data on the sales volumes inventories would still be published. Quote, housing prices are an extremely sensitive matter right now, end quote. A second source with knowledge of the matter told Reuters. So housing prices are an extremely sensitive matter in China right now. So I'm here to tell you, it's going to be an extremely sensitive matter everywhere as we get into this new so-called future, looking forward to, this future with Donald Trump. Again, it's not going to be his fault no matter what happens. Me and Big Square were just talking about it. We think it's going to be a quick, brutal, deal with this, get it out of the way so that Donald Trump can start his administration new, not be his second or third year into it, and then have this happen to where now he's fighting for his political career to say, hey, wait, I'm trying now to deal with this. He already knew it. He was already talking about the bubbles, housing, and Wall Street, and said before the election even happened that these were bubbles. They're going to pop. So with him at the helm, he's going to make that call. Give me the red phone. Oh, the nuke phone? No, that phone's obsolete. Give me the other red phone. Yeah. Listen. It's go time. It is go time for the crash. Let it happen. It's going to be a managed retreat. I understand. We're going to rebuild. Go ahead and go with it now. I want this done in my first year, not my second year or third year. I want it done now so we can rebuild forward. That way when I get to my fourth year and I go for re-election, people will see how I fixed everything that these bastards prior to me did to all of us. That's what we think may happen. I do think it may be towards the end of the year before we really start seeing stuff. And someone sent me a video, which I've been actually peeking around. I already knew about this, but I hadn't said anything yet. I'm kind of waiting to gather a little more information. But you remember all the movies that kept showing 9/23, September 23, September 23. I did a few videos myself on this. I'm like, man, it's in your face again. It's in your face again. Last year, 9/23 came, nothing happened. Okay, 2015, 9/23, nothing happened. But I have to refer everybody back to the movies, many of which had 9/11 in it before 9/11 happened. There was never any that said 9/11-2001. It was always just the month and the day. And some interesting connections have been made with this 9/23-2017 and apparently a verse from the Bible or something that I want to kind of look into myself before doing a video on this and sharing it with you. Or if I find someone that's done a phenomenal job, I'll quickly come out here and do a very quick video to say, hey, here's the video I want you guys to watch. Check this out. And I may just do that because from what I understand, there's 2 or 3 that people have really done some good research on. So I'm going to end this video and we will see where that goes. Not today. You're not going to get today, but over this next week, I'm going to kind of look into that and may release something on that September date later this month, or excuse me, later this year, September. Take care.